Okay, we're back. We're doing the video. I'm wearing my country cowboy outfit here. Fucking Jakey Exotica here. Tiger King inspired, of course. Because my hair is a nightmare. My hair is, this quarantine's not helping my hair. I need a haircut every fucking 2 days to look even halfway decent. And right now it's looking rough. The beard is fucking pretty scrungy and pretty pale. The kid's getting a good lift in, a lot of cardio. We're trying to do our best here. But we're going country cowboy, Jakey Exotica for this video. In this video, we're doing a special, little mix it up here, a little different video. We're doing Ozark Season 3, a spoiler discussion. A lot of people binge the show. I'm a big fan of it. And there's so much I want to talk about this show because I think it's fucking great. And I think this season is the best one. Season 3, I think the show's got progressively better each season. Season 1 was like, okay, this show's cool. But I don't know, I didn't love it. Like, you had a lot of setup, and then the ending of season 1. And once again, this is a spoiler discussion, so I'm talking about it openly. If you haven't seen it, don't watch this video yet, or watch and just ruin it for you. My dad watched, I was telling him to watch Tiger King, and the guy ended up, like, sending me articles, like, where are they now? And I'm like, why are you reading articles about it? You haven't watched it yet. He's like, oh, I just, like, wanted to know. So you spoiled it for yourself, and then he watched it and liked it. So if you're one of those people, I guess watch this video, spoil everything, every surprise, and then watch it. If you're not my dad, then, wait till you've seen the show and then watch this and hit me up in the comments. Let's talk about this because, what the fuck else are we doing? But Season 3, I think it's the best, like I said, best season so far. And the way they start every episode is wild. Like, the first episode they drop, like, the guy, like, ties people up and drops a bomb. You're like, oh my god, I'm in. And then another episode, like the fucking this guy is like teaching a class and just loses it, throws everybody's cell phones in and fucking spears somebody. You're like, oh my god, I'm so in on this. And it turns out to be Wendy's brother, who's, the best new character and pretty much makes this season. Another one, it's like when Wendy and Marty are fighting at their therapist, and he's like, you fucking bitch. And like, you're like, oh my god, like the way they start these fucking... Each episode is wild. It gets you locked in, and they drop the fucking O with the 4 little things, and you're like, okay, I'm in. So it's a super bingeable show. I think another one was when they had fucking Jonah, the brother. Jonah and Ben were like droning Ruth. Like they had the drone, like we're recording her. Fucking not bad, Arm. He needs a tan. But so it's like every single episode is so hype how they begin it. I love too, like the blue color palette they use, like with the lens and just like the color correcting. I love that blue tint to everything. And I really want the show to end in like 1 or 2 more years max, because I am a firm believer of after every TV show, after the 5th season, we're wasting our time here. It's over. Because you're like, okay, we're just repeating the same type of storylines, the same type of mistakes, or we just get excessive and you're like, this is not even realistic anymore. Prime example. Oh, social distance for me right now. I just coughed. Powerful ASMR break to get the episode going. But prime example is Ray Donovan, because I was so into Ray Donovan. And I still like it, but it's like, that show's went like 3 seasons too long at this point. Like, now you just watch it and like, that's why you gotta end the show at season 4 or 5, because you're so invested in the characters and believe it. When you just keep going, they keep making the same fuck-ups. You're like, okay, I'm actually rooting against them now, and I want them all to die. Like, I'm watching these characters, I'm like, yeah, well, they're idiots. They've had, like, a million opportunities to, like, either better their life or get out of this, and they just keep fucking up. Fuck these people. And it takes you out of the show. So that's why I'm hoping with Ozarks, like, the Netflix model is they really, what I've read at least, is that they like ending shows at, like, 30 episodes. The negative part about that is, like, a show like Mindhunter, which is great, it's probably over now. We've only got, like, 20, 25 episodes. And even Stranger Things, we probably only have a year or 2 left of that. But I prefer that, because when you keep going with these shows, it's like the law of diminishing returns. It ruins it. So that's my 2 cents about like how many seasons and episodes we should have. And I think Ozarks is right on that track, like especially where they end season 3. We'll get to that later on. We got 1 or 2 more seasons left and then end it. But right now we're on the perfect, like we're peaking right now. The show's fucking peaking. Unbelievable cinematography, like some of the shots they do, and like they have like a nice long wide shot, and they have this other thing called, my cousin told me about this, shout out James Bolton. It's called it's called a focus pull, where like they have someone's face and it goes out of focus, another person's face comes like focused. you can overuse that, but they have some great shots in this show, and it really just sets the tone. Like the certain shot selections can like put you like you're right there and like experiencing the character and affect the mood. And this show's cinematography and just shot composition is unbelievable. I'm gonna break into each character and each character arc. Like we're going deep on this, man. So if you're kind of a fan of this isn't for you. This is like balls deep. Let's get filmy. Let's get fucking nerdy on this because I'm balls deep in the show and I'm committed. I'm a huge fan. I'm gonna fucking tell you how big of a fan I am. But a lot of shows, like this show is obviously, inspired a little bit by like, a Sopranos or a Breaking Bad, like the anti-hero, right? And this family like doesn't really have that much redeeming qualities about them. Like they're pretty shitty people. But the reason I think it works is because how they got into this situation. It wasn't Marty doing this. It wasn't like, it was his partner who like did the cartel thing and he didn't really know. So now they're in it and you're like, okay, well, like they didn't pick this. They got thrown into this and they made the best of it. And what really makes the show is like, is it nature or nurture? Because how all the characters adapt, you're like, wow, they were pretty much made to launder money and do this. But like they're great at it. So it's like, it's almost like a coming of age where they found their best thing to do in life, but also they're just thrown into this. And if they didn't have these skills or develop them, they'd be dead. So it's a great case of nature versus nurture. And at this point, like all the characters, it's just, I watch the show and I'm ready to launder money. Like I'm ready to lie, deceit, leverage people. Like it just like inspires you to do that type of shit. Because everyone's so good at it. They're all fucking elite professional liars at this point. Even the kids kind of are developing into like their parents. Like they're in on the business now and they're fucking, improving. It's unbelievable. We'll start with the first guy, the main guy here, Marty Berg. And Jason Bateman is just, I don't know how you hate on this guy. Like he's such a great actor. Now he's directing. He won an Emmy for directing. And he has the perfect smug look about him. Where he just kind of makes this face. And it's like, he's like so douchey and like confident at the same time. He has the Bateman look. Like just the face he makes is fucking perfect. He rarely makes eye contact with people in the show. He's always either looking up or looking down and kind of just hands in his pockets, just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the worst thing ever. We'll figure it out. Like, the amount of news this guy gets that, like, most people would have a heart attack and freak out. He just stays so calm in the pocket. He's just like, oh, okay, we'll work it out. It's actually unbelievable to watch. Especially, and, like, he kind of sets the tone for everybody. Because you're like, oh, if our main guy's like this, then, like, we have to be calm too, I guess. And he really, like, there's an episode where, like, Navarro captures him and he's like pretty much locked up and you're like, wow, like are they gonna kill him? Like do they need him? He's pretty much testing, the cartel guy is testing to see if he needs Marty or if he can just use Wendy and the Wicked Witch Helen. And he just freaks out at one point and shows a lot of balls and talks shit and like really snaps and you're like, oh, is he gonna die or what's happening here? And then later on Navarro's like, yeah, like Marty showed me like, he's like me, like he wants to win, and you're like, fuck, that's sick. Like how they set that up is unbelievable. And then he buys, and then you're kind of like, is Marty like losing his mind the first episode or two back? Like when he comes back from pretty much being like locked up and they're playing music and they're like torturing him. Because he buys some like old arcade game and starts playing it. He's like, oh, this reminds me of my childhood. And you're like, oh my God, is this guy losing it? Like what's happening? So he has a pretty good arc. The next person we got to talk about here is Wendy Bird. Her smile, her little bitchy, cunty little smile she does. It's the kiss of fucking death. If you get that Wendy smile, be scared, it's over for you. Everything she does is just so calculated, and she's so smart, and she's such a weapon, and she's such a bitch. In the best way. In the most positive way. She's so evil. She's such an evil person. Which is great, though, for the show. Her interactions with her brother and with Helen and with Navarro are all, like, must watch. There's a little scene where she's talking to her brother near the end, and she has a little drawl to her voice, a little country cowboy in her voice, and then her brother's like calls her out on it, and she's like, yeah, I guess, whatever. Really cool scene between the two of them. And even in that scene, she admits like Helen terrifies her, and she's smarter than her, and you're like, wow, because a lot of it's like Helen versus Wendy a lot, and you're like, who's the alpha here? They're both like super smart characters, and they're like they can be intimidating and just very calculated. And Helen, for the most part, does seem smarter and seem a little more alpha. And even at one point, Wendy like admits that a little, and you're like, "Fuck!" Like she admitted. I can't believe she admitted it. And then another scene where she's talking about like how tired she is about all the running and all the shit. But how she says it, like the performances in the show, like how she's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired of all this shit." but her tone is almost like she loves it. Like she's almost flipped over where it's like, yeah, I'm tired, but like this is her life now. Like she fucking loves this shit. Like she's so deep in the shit where you have like Stockholm syndrome where you're like, yeah, I actually like this now, which is just unbelievable. Then at the end of the show, I'm talking about the end because everything kind of comes together. When she says, "I love you," like I love you to Marty at the end, he's like, "Baby, let me take care of you" and stuff. Like after the once again, spoiler alert here. Once the brother like is dealt with, and then Marty kind of takes care of her, and you're like, "Wow, maybe they do love each other." Because like most of the show, like these people hate each other, but there is enough love to keep it going, which is, I think, what keeps the show stabilized. Because they just hate each other. If they 100% hate each other, there'd be nothing there. But there's still a little bit of love between the two characters, enough to keep it going, which is all you need is enough to just keep the train going. Um, there's a brilliant scene where she's trying to get the brother out of town and get him safe, and he just keeps fucking up. This guy, just everything he does, he's trying to call Helen, he's trying to do this, trying to do that. Shows up at the casino, like he just keeps fucking up. And there's a scene where they go to a variety store and he like buys a phone, and she's behind him, kind of looking, and then she's buying some shit, and then she goes to the person working. She's like, "Did he just buy like a disposable phone?" She's like, "Yeah." And then she looks at. There's a great shot here where she looks at Ben, and you realize her starting to figure out like, fuck, I gotta kill this guy. Not that she will, but I have to like tell them where he is, and we gotta get rid of him because he will fucking kill all of us by just being an insane person. And it's such a great shot because she's realizing it, as an audience we're realizing like, no, Wendy, you're not gonna do it. And it's just an amazing scene. And then even later on, like just with her, like once the deed is done, when Wendy and Marty are talking, she's like, "Marty, you were right. Like, we should have got the fuck out of here." But she wanted the experience and the power so bad because she was pretty much like a host mom. And this was finally an opportunity, especially in season 2, for her to really dig in and like, she wanted to be powerful. She wanted to be in the whole game. And even her interactions with Navarro, like she thinks like, oh, like we're partners and stuff. Like like she thinks this is like a political thing, not like no, like Navarro's the guy and like you're his bitch. Like she doesn't realize that until it's too late. Then that's why she admits, she's like, yeah, I'm already right. Like way back in season 1 when we could have got the fuck out of here. I should have listened to you. And for her to admit that's like a real evolution of her character because you thought there's no chance she'd ever admit that, even if she thought that. She never admitted to Marty, and she finally kind of opens up and does. Stuff like that. It's just like the show is it's just such a well-made show. It's well written, it's well performed, it's well directed. Like everything is just, the show's firing on all cylinders. And you don't see that in a lot of TV. You see like a few good things, but then they fuck this up or this kind of bullshit. This show is peaking right now. And for it to drop in the middle of quarantine like this is like, thank God we needed this. We needed Tiger King and we needed Ozark season 3. We fucking needed these things. Because otherwise we're watching, WrestleMania with fucking no people in the crowd, which is just so cringe and embarrassing. Go watch the clips of that. It's some of the funniest, like, unintentional comedy. Or, UFC where Dana White's not telling us, the location and Khabib's not fighting. It's just a mess. So we really needed this season of Ozark. I'm so thankful for it. This is the next character. This is, to me, the guy who makes the show, at least this season. Brother Ben, he's the best new character. He's an unbelievable actor. This guy is a sick actor. He really, you really believe him, and you really believe his struggle because, the first time we see him, he's like a substitute teacher who pretty much snaps and then like spears the guy, and you're like, this guy's a nut. And then you're like, oh, this is Wendy's brother, and then Marty, like the whole time, Marty's just like, oh, this fucking guy, And Wendy's like, yeah, I know he's crazy, but whatever. And eventually, him and Ruth get together, and he's like wheeling her, and like he's obsessed with her, and they kind of like fall in love. Cool little, romantic thing there, because Ruth is usually the best character, I think, on the show. Like the most entertaining, badass. You're like, wow, I love this bitch. And now Brother Ben is kind of like, he's the guy. So for them to get together, like, makes a lot of sense, and it really works. And you're like, fuck, this is cool, because the Birds kind of adopted, Ruth as their kind of pseudo daughter, and they've really changed her life and brought her along. But also, it's not really their daughter. And then Ben is the crazy guy, so it's like, for them to get together, it's fucking perfect. And then they're getting together and they're a little frisky in bed, and you're like, wow, they're gonna bang, and you can't get hurt. And you're like, what, And he's like, oh yeah, it's I drank too much whiskey or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, like maybe, I don't know, like a lot of guys have been there. I haven't. I'm hurt right now, but you're like, okay, great. And then later on, you realize like, oh, he has to take these pills because he's bipolar and has like some mental stuff going on. Or if he doesn't take his medicine, he loses it. Problem is, this medicine's kryptonite for his penis, which right away puts you as a man. You're like, wow, like, I don't know which one I'd pick. Like, do I want to be insane, have a hard dick that could cut through diamonds, or do I want to mentally be strong, but then I have a limp dick? That's a question. That's pretty much an unanswerable question. Like, if I was put in this scenario, I mean, obviously, like, well, just pop a bunch of Viagra or something, or maybe take less of your meds, or like, I don't know. There's ways around it, but obviously for the show, it's like, no, it's either this or that. And then he ultimately chooses to just like, yeah, fuck the meds. I'm gonna have a hard dick and rail this. I'm gonna rail this broad and blow her back out. Which, I'd probably pick the same if we're being honest here. Be a bit of a lunatic, a bit of a short fuse, but you're laying good pipe. Or I don't know. I'd probably, my my little head would lead me on that. So, and I'm not saying it's extremely medium, but it's fair size. But I'm saying compared to my fucking noggin, it is a smaller head, but just barely. So that happens. There's a scene too where he's going, like, he's supposed to be hidden, and he's hidden with Darlene and Wyatt, which we'll get to that later. Oh my god. But he's hiding at Darlene's like farm, and then he just like bails out and goes and sees Ruth at the casino as the cartel's looking to murder him. And you're like, what? Like, why would he do that? Like, that's fucking wild. And then she says goodbye to him, and Ruth kind of has that moment of realizing, like, yeah, this is the last time I'm going to see him, and I have to deal with this. And again, great scene, similar to Wendy realizing, like, I got to get rid of this guy who's bad news, even though it's her brother. And then Marty and him have a great talk, because the whole season they don't really like each other. It's kind of like Marty's like, this is a fucking asshole brother-in-law. He's been a fucking dick from the time I met Wendy. Like, fuck, he's a nightmare. And he really is. But and they have a talk, like, when they're getting a boat ready or something to, like, try to get him, like, away. And Ben's like, yeah, Marty, I always appreciate you, and you always taught me a lot. There's a really good moment there. It's a great, like, just little scene. And then later on, when Wendy, they're in the car and they're driving to, like, Texas, I think. And Wendy's like, you make me want to fucking drink. And then after the deed is done, she's boozing it up. It's like, it's kind of just a good, lean right into that. Here's the thing that it was like, it needed to happen, but I don't necessarily fully believe it. It's kind of like a MacGuffin, where it's like this, it's film terms, MacGuffin, where something happens, which leads to all these other things happening in order for the story to continue, but I'm not really certain about this thing. When he's in the crazy house, right, because he comes to, when they're doing that fundraising thing, he shows up and blows the spot up and embarrasses himself. So like, fuck, like, we gotta put this guy, like, in a crazy house. And Darlene kind of works the situation with the cops, and then later on gets him out. The first thing he does is he's in the cab, and there's a really good scene, once again, opening the episode of him talking to a cab driver, and he's like, wow, this guy's losing it. First thing he does, hey there, first thing he does is goes and fucking blows up Helen's spot. And he's like, your mom's working, like, Helen's daughter's there. He's like, your mom's working for the cartel, and she's a lawyer, and she's a scumbag, and she's this. Why? I don't get it. First off, like, it doesn't really fully show, like, why there'd be a beef between the two, and how he would figure all that out. Like, because slowly he figures out that they're, working for the cartel and stuff, but why would he take all his anger on Helen, and how would he know where she lives? Two things are kind of like, yeah, I don't know. But it needs to happen in order for everything else to happen, so I'll go with it. But that kind of was like a thing where I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And then obviously Helen's like, well, we gotta get rid of this guy. Like, there's, we can't have this guy going around freaking out. Plus, you told my daughter and blew up my spot there. Like, her daughter didn't know at the time, like, what her mom really did. So we gotta get rid of him. And then once they're, later on, like in the last couple episodes, when they're trying to, like, hide Ben and stuff, he's calling Helen and apologizing and about to tell her, like, where they are. And he's just such a fuck up. It's unbelievable the level of fuck up he is. And then at the very, very end, when him and Wendy are having dinner together, and the song in the background is "Live Like You're Dying," and then she's like, yeah, where do you see yourself in 5 years? He's like, oh, I want to do this or that or this. And he's like, saying all his hopes and dreams, and she gets up and she's like, yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then leaves, and you're like, oh, fuck. And then Nelson shows up and, ends things. It's like, oh, breaks your heart. It's really a heartbreaking scene. It fucking kills you when you're watching it. But it's it's really the apex of the show, of the season. But he was just such a great new character. It'll be interesting to see kind of who can fill his place or what the main storyline will be going forward next year, because he was just such an integral part of this year. Next is Ruth, which that actress is just amazing. Like, Ruth is just still one of the best characters in the show. Won an Emmy last year. Like, she's crushing it. And just how she talks to people and her attitude, she's just so committed. And you're like, wow, this girl's a badass. Her whole fucking, like, she's a real boss. And how she talks to Frank Jr. and just, like, doesn't take any shit and, like, throws him off the fucking boat. You're like, wow. And then later on, her and Ben put the feed on it. And then Frank Jr., who is Frank Sr., the Kansas City mob son, he's just like, standard douchey kind of, my dad's rich and I can do anything I want type of guy. Pretty good character. Just beats the shit out of her. Just absolutely fucking O.J. Simpson's her. Chris Brown's her ass. And you're like, oh my God, like, that's terrible. And then she gets up and you're like, she's like, what, like, Birds, are we going to kill this guy? Because they have like, Marty and Frank have a meeting where they're like, yeah, Ruth is untouchable, don't fuck with her. And obviously Frank Sr.'s like, well, my son is like the same. Like, they're both untouchable, like, don't fuck with him. Frank Jr. goes out and does that, and you're like, okay, fuck, now what? So instead of being like, okay, yeah, we're going to kill him or something, they're just like, yeah, we cut ties with the Kansas City mob, which probably isn't enough, but it's like the best business decision. So right there, Ruth's starting to go like, I'm not really your daughter. You guys are bullshit. Like, fuck you. Which leads into one of the best scenes when she barges in and just loses it on Wendy and goes like, fuck you guys, you bitch wolf or something. It's like, oh my God, like, it's such a triggering scene. One of the weirdest things of the whole show is Ruth's brother Wyatt. Let's get to him. This Wyatt guy is kind of just a long-haired, scraggly, like, kind of crackhead physique weirdo. And him and Darlene hook up. Him and the old bag Darlene hook up. And you're going, what is this here? They start banging and shit. And you're like, what? This is so, like, just out of nowhere. Out of left field. Not my proudest fap. But it's like, they're hooking up. And you're like, I can't believe these two got together. And even when Wendy tries to set up Darlene so they can get the little kid Ezekiel back. Because, like, their kids feel bad about it or whatever. Like, nobody really gives a shit about this kid. But, they needed something to fill time. And Darlene beats her in court because Wyatt shows up and is like, no, like, Wendy attacked Darlene first, and then Wendy loses. Like, Darlene gets a W here. Darlene gets a lot of W's this season. She killed her husband Jacob last year. I think she's a fucking absolute lunatic, but she gets everything she wanted this season. She slowly starts getting the fucking into Ruth and Wyatt's head. That's like, no, the Birds are the ones ruining everything. You are good people. They're the problem, which is very Emperor Palpatine of her, kind of getting a young Anakin's mind and going, no, the Jedi are bad. Like, it was very kind of similar to that. Then later on, she gets Brother Ben out of the crazy house talking to the cop, and you're like, wow, like, probably not the best move, but she was able to do it when the Birds couldn't get it done. And then she goes, and with Ruth is, still beat up and stuff, and Ruth and Wyatt kind of have a weird relationship because of a lot of shit that happened last year. But she goes and finds Frank Jr., puts a shotgun on his dick, and she's like making fun of the size. I mean, easy size joke there. And then she's like, yeah, you like to beat up women, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I'm so sorry. Pulls the trigger, blows his dick and balls off with a shotgun. And how they do it's like almost like a drone. I think it is a drone shot, and then like so they're talking, then it's just boom, drone shot, and you hear it boom, and then she walks away, and you're like, she just blew his dick and balls off. Oh my God. And which I think if you get a shotgun to your dick, like, you're probably dead. Like, you're probably, like, the amount of blood and the amount of craziness there, you're probably dead. Somehow I guess he lives, but oh my God, like, Darlene the old bag just takes over. And then she goes to Frank Sr. and goes, yeah, hey, we got all, like, she's growing the puppies and growing, like, the drugs again. She's like, hey, Frank Sr., you're the distributor, let's do this, let's make business. You fucked up with Ruth, and she's my family, and I had to, like, get you. There's a lot of money to be made here, we want you to build this and do this, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, Darlene, like, you're an evil genius at this point. She's still a lunatic. She has the craziest eyes, man. She's so dead behind the eyes. Like, she has a look to her as well where you're like, oh, it's so scary. So she makes a deal with Frank, and you're like, wow, like, Darlene at the end, She gets a family because now Wyatt and Ruth are both working for her, and she has the kid. Like, she gets everything she wants out of this season, which is just unbelievable. So I'd say she wins the show, like wins this season, because Darlene looked like she was on the outs, and somehow, like, she'll probably be like a big part of next year, like next season, obviously. But she wins this whole season because she gets everything she wants in every possible way. Really just amazing. So, ran out of words there. Really just amazing. Just like totally didn't know what to say. Here we go. The Wicked Witch, Helen. This fucking ostrich of a woman who's every bit of 6'1", probably 7'1", probably used to be in the WNBA. Unbelievable actress. She is the scariest fucking person I've seen on TV in a long time. And she's not even she's just the cartel's, like, you know, lawyer and kind of right-hand man, right-hand woman. And just her quiet intensity. And just there's no emotion. There's no, like, there's just, we have to make this decision to do this and for the business. That's it. There's no, like, oh, I don't know. There's no human element to her. She's very much like a robotic being where it's just like, oh, they fucked up. We have to do this. Like, she just, like, makes things happen. And her dynamic with Wendy and with Marty Bird are so, like, even when she tells Marty, like, hey, you have to do this, and he's like, fuck, I don't know. And she's like, are we going to have a problem? And then Marty just like, yeah, no, we're not. Like, I know it has to be done. She's so scary and just so intimidating. And like I said, her whole thing with Wendy, the back and forth between those two, you're like, wow, who's going to win? Who's the alpha? And then near the end, you're like, you kind of realize, like, Helen's trying to get the Birds out to save her ass, to make her the main person. And, like, this Navarro guy, he has, like, a drug war going on, and a rival cartel is coming after him, and you're like, he's probably going to have to choose between either Helen or the Birds at this point, and it looks like Helen has the upper hand. Like, she and then she goes and meets with that Charles guy from season 2 about getting a gaming license, because if she gets the gaming license, then you don't really need the Birds. Navarro gives her his kids to stay, like, you know, to make sure they're safe, and then he diversifies all his assets between all three. It's like, it's really smart. Like, it's just great writing at the end of the show, at the end of the season. There's an unbelievable scene between Helen and between Wendy, where they're hiding Ben, and Marty calls her, and, like, Helen shows up. Wendy knows nothing about her brother, like, barging in at her house and causing the scene at Helen's yet. So Helen shows up and is like, hey, have you seen Ben anywhere? Like, whatever. And she's like, no, I haven't seen him yet. And she actually doesn't have any idea. Marty calls her, and, like, and Helen and Wendy are, like, standing right there, and goes, hey, you know, Ben fucked up. Helen wants to kill him. Act like I don't know what you're talking about. She's going to ask where he is, say blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't know. And she's breaking her heart because she's like, fuck, they're going to kill my brother. And then has to act like she doesn't know. And then Helen's like, oh, who's that? What's going on? And she's so good at just saying one or two things and just, like, off your reaction, she knows the answer now. So it's like that scene, like, the back of the tick for tack, and just, like, don't show them. Like, don't show her that you know. It was just like, that was a great scene. She even says near the end, she's like, yeah, adapt or die. Well, we know where that ended for her. It's unbelievable. Even, like, so at the very end, you know, adapt or die, and then the FBI agent, which we'll get to later, calls up Marty and goes, hey, watch out. Like, this is, you know, when, like, Helen set you up, and they're going to visit Navarro for his kid's christening. And he's like, all right, thanks. Like, I still have to get on this plane. Like, thanks for the warning. And then Helen's like, and we're off. And you're like, you evil bitch. And then they're going to Navarro's, and they land, and they're like, oh, like, you know, I wonder, you know, who he's going to pick. It's a nice, quiet scene. Out of nowhere, Nelson just blows Helen's head off. Like, just boom, shotgun. Like, oh! And then there's blood everywhere. And then Navarro's like, I like that we're together now. And, like, gives him a hug, and that's how the show ends. And you're like, oh, fuck, like, they got her. Like, they fucking got her, and the Birds won, you know? But it was such an out-of-nowhere scene, because it was just, like, in a show you kind of expect when they're going to kill somebody. You're like, hey, we're going to take you here to do that. Like, they literally just landed, let the kids out, and they're just, like, greeting him. Like, in broad daylight, they're just, like, greeting him. And then Helen's like, hey, how you doing? And even the shot, Navarro's only looking at the Birds. He's not even answering Helen. Like, he just goes, hey, how are you? And then Nelson shoots her in the back of the head, and you're just like, oh, fuck. It's such an oh, fuck moment. So a great way to get rid of, like, to kill Helen off, because really, yeah, like how they set it up, he had to choose the birds or, Helen. So Helen, you're out of here. Not going to be back for season 4, but what a showcase. So that scene, just had a tornado. Okay, let's get to the cartel leader, Omar Navarro. This guy is a very different cartel leader. He's not Pablo Escobar. He's not El Chapo. He doesn't really have the same look. He's a super calm guy, kind of chubby, kind of just like an everyman a little bit. But he doesn't talk much, and he doesn't like when people talk either. Like, he really just very few words. Tell him what he wants to know. He'll ask you something basic, just a basic, just meat and potatoes guy. But when he does freak out, he's very intimidating. Like, there's a few points where Wendy's talking to him, he's like, "You're not my fucking partner. Like, you work for me." Like, he sets the tone with her, and you're like, wow, like, he has such an intensity about him. Another scene where Santiago, his son's christening, which is so funny the whole time, because everybody keeps congratulating him. They're like, "Oh, I hope your girlfriend's okay, and I hope the kid's healthy." And you're like, wow, this guy is, obviously a cartel guy would have a girlfriend, right? Like, and a wife as well. And he's losing the war, and he's kind of freaking out a little bit, but he's still, like, calm in the pocket. It was unbelievable. And then Wendy calls him at the end and is like, "Hey, like, with our brother, like, we got rid of him, like, for you, like, just to show how committed we were." And he's like, "What the fuck? Do you want me to act like I'm grateful? He did what was required." And you're like, wow, this guy he means business. So I thought he was a great addition as, like, the main cartel leader. Omar Navarro, great name. I thought he really crushed that part. A few more things before we get out of here. The FBI agent, the black pregnant chick, unbelievable. Her quote-unquote morals and the whole thing with how the birds kind of... I don't get why she was pregnant. That was, like, kind of an unnecessary thing. Like, maybe they hired the actress long before, then she got knocked up. I don't know. That was kind of weird. But just how, like, the birds use her morality to get her in trouble with her boss and taking off the case. Because they're trying to flip her the whole time, but she's very like, "No, I'm, like, a good person." And they explain why she's like that, because her dad was a scumbag and stuff. And then how she flagged the accounts to save Marty. Like, all that stuff was unbelievable. She was a great character. And then Marty's going over her head to give her boss information. The flip didn't work. So they arrested that Sam guy, he was a funny character, like betting and stuff. And then how they went too far, so then she got taken off the case. But they still needed her because they could flip her or something. So then Marty, like, gives up a little information just so she can stay on the case. That was great at the end. And then, how she even gives Marty the warning, like, before they get on the plane, like, "Hey, Helen is getting the gaming license. Like, she's bumping you out. Like, you're probably going to get killed if you go to Mexico." And he's like, "All right, thanks for the warning, but I have to." All that stuff was great. She was a great addition. The kids, Jonah and Charlotte, they're pretty much becoming their parents. They're both evolving into their parents. I'm all in on Charlotte. I'm team risk it all for Charlotte. I'm very confident. I'm pretty sure she's like 20-something years old. I'm all in on her. I think she's a rocket. I think she's a great actress. I'm all in. Jonah and Ben, their whole dynamic and relationship throughout the season was great. Like, when Ben's like, "Yeah, I'd be creeping on girls," and he's like creeping on Helen's daughter and stuff. That was great with the GoPro. Again, Jonah loses his best friend. Which is kind of weird. Jonah's only friends are, like, older men. Very creepy, very Kevin Spacey-esque. But he always loses his best friend. So, like, this guy's not gonna, like, I think he's gonna take a dark turn. And then at the end, he pulls a gun out. He makes out with Helen's daughter, and you're like, wow, this guy's awesome. He's wheeling. And there's a scene where they're shooting guns and stuff, and because the old man taught him how to shoot guns in season 1. And then he just snaps and goes, "Helen's trying to kill us." Shows up with a shotgun at Helen's door and is like, "Fuck you," and ready to kill her. And then Helen spills the beans about, like, how his parents are actually, like, killed Ben and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wow, is Jonah really going to kill the Wicked Witch? Like, this isn't going to happen. I kept thinking the whole scene that, because Navarro's kids are upstairs getting ready, I thought Navarro's kids were going to come down and surprise Jonah, and he would accidentally pull the trigger and kill Helen. That's what I was expecting to happen. But Helen's able to talk herself out of this and dodge death momentarily, because she fucking gets hers. But Jonah, doesn't have blood on his hands. Again, because remember, even in season 1, he pulled the trigger against the cartel guys, and there was no bullets, and the old man had to kill them. So again, Jonah's looking to kill people, but he's avoided it twice. I think he gets an even darker turn going down the show and, does some fucking bad shit. But even their character arc and development's great. Nelson, the hitman for the cartel, his scene with the therapist is great, telling that story about his dog. And like that, all that's great. And then he gets rid of the therapist, who Marty and Wendy are both paying off during their meetings. All that storyline and plot was great. Every scene she's in is unbelievable. When she buys the McLaren, like everything was great about her. And the scene where Nelson has the therapy session, he's like, yeah, she's a good listener, and then has to kill her and stuff. Like all that was fantastic. There's a scene where they're sinking her car, and Helen goes to Nelson, yeah, hey, if you ever get the call about me, like let me know. And he's like, yeah, for sure. Lied about that one, didn't you? But why would you trust a hitman, right? Because in the end, he shoots her in the back of the head and kills her, and obviously didn't warn her. So a good little kind of connecting the dots there. And even Helen's like, hey, you ever get sick of this? And you're thinking like maybe he'll show some emotion because he just had the therapy session, maybe feels bad about killing the old lady. Instead, he goes, no. Like he's such a psycho. He actually loves killing people. Small little character. He does great with it. Like they say, there's no small parts, only small actors. But like he has a very small part, but he crushes it. Like I thought the Nelson character was great. I just run a bit of a rant there, but Ozark season 3 open spoiler discussion. I think I got everything in there. I don't know if we'll do more videos like this in the future. We'll see, the views and what goes on with this one. But I really wanted to talk about this show because it's amazing. Everyone's quarantined right now, so you can just kind of like FaceTime people. But it's like, no, I have an hour of shit to talk about. How long do we got here? Almost 40 minutes. I got 40 minutes of shit to talk about this show. I've been thinking about it. I've been digesting it. And like I said, I think, just humanity really needed this show right now. It's a fantastic TV show. If you haven't watched it, go binge it all right now. All 3 seasons are on Netflix. Each season gets progressively better. Ozarks, season 3. It's a certified banger. A Jake Brennan banger. So go check that out and, smell you later. If you like what you just saw, give the video a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, subscribe, DM me, shoot me an email, send me an e-transfer. Hook me up.